All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another one of my interviews here on Drip Talk with Blake DeSnag Roberts. Today, I have a special guest with me. He is a current musician slash guitarist. He has played in the tribute bands, including Kiss and Megadeth. He currently plays in the tribute band Metallica. He is the father to current WWE Women's Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton. He is no other than Jimmy Woynilko. So we'll get him on in here, and then we will start on with the interview.
Kevin, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
How's it going, man?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Lovely.
Well, I thank you for taking your time out to do this. It's a pleasure to have you on here.
Oh, no problem. It's always fun.
Right. All right. So is there anybody or is there anything you would like to tell the people about yourself more or anything?
Well, I'm an aspiring musician, so I've played mainly in cover bands. I've done a few original projects, but I live here in the Twin Cities area, in Minnesota. And as of the last 5 years, I've played in a Kiss tribute band, a Iron Maiden one, a Megadeth one, and the current one is the Metallica one.
Nice, yeah. All right, so the first question I'll ask you is, when did you start doing and getting into music and guitar playing, and what made you want to do it?
Well, it was Kiss basically. I saw Kiss on a commercial probably when I was 8 years old, and that would be right around 1979, 1980. I didn't start playing right away. I probably didn't start playing till I was 13 years old. Um, Started with the bass first, and then switched to guitar. I got pretty heavily into it. There was the whole 80s shred guitar thing, which caught my ear, and then I ended up moving from Wisconsin, which was my home state, Kenosha, my hometown, to Minneapolis in '91 to attend Music Tech, which was a technical college for musicians and music production. Went there in '91, and then I've been in the Twin Cities area ever since.
Nice, yeah. Kiss, yeah, my favorite band.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you can't deny their influence on music. I mean, they inspired a lot of people to play. Probably the most influential band ever.
Definitely. Yeah, I seen them for the first time in September here in Wisconsin, in Crandon, for their final tour that they were doing. So, yeah, it was pretty awesome to see them.
Oh, you're lucky. You're lucky to have caught them before they quit playing, because by the time I was old enough to go to concerts, they took the makeup off that first time. So my Kiss concert was in 1984 when my dad had to take me because I was only in sixth grade, and they had the makeup off. But then when they put the makeup back on in '96, I was like, yes. And I got to see them with
Yeah.
the full makeup show, which with the pyro and everything.
Yeah, that's the best. Were you ever in like a school band, like band class in school, or did you ever have your own band outside of school that you started?
Yes, I played in the orchestra. I started out with the cello in fifth grade, and then moved to the bass violin. Played that all through high school, and we'd go to competitions. We'd travel. We were in Boston once. We traveled to other states too for competitions. I played in a jazz band for a little while too. My very first band I started when I started playing electric guitar outside of music. I mean, outside of school, was an original band called the Jessic Massacre, and we actually recorded a demo. It didn't go much beyond that, but if you look up in the Encyclopedia of Metal, we're in there.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I had a band when I was 15, original band while I was still in high school before, I graduated and moved up here.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, my friend is really into music and he always wants to like start a band with me in school and stuff. We always talk about it, so it's pretty cool.
Do you play guitar?
No, I don't. I'm more of like the singer cuz I
Oh,
can
cool.
sing and I'm in like choir and I'm in band. I play trumpet.
Nice.
So, I might like just stick to like the singing side of things and he is more learning like the guitar and stuff. So,
That's awesome. You got to keep it alive. There's a lot of schools that cut their music programs, so I'm glad to hear that you have one.
yeah. When did you officially realize a music career was something you wanted to like officially do for the rest of your life?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a career. I still hold a job outside of music, but music's always been a part of my life. There's been times when it's been the only thing I've done too. But right from when I started, I knew it would be a part of my life for forever because you just love to do it. And there's just something about playing it. It's just something magical. That's the best way you could put it. And of course, you always want to ultimately play original music, but there's no shame in being in a cover band either. If you're going to do it well, I mean, there's plenty of crappy cover bands out there. But it takes skill to do that
Yeah.
well. And there's original bands that will kind of talk smack about cover bands and I've never bought into that mentality, because when you're an original band, you can do whatever you want. You can actually screw up whenever you want. People aren't going to know the difference unless they really know your music and it's pre-recorded and they heard your CD. When you're playing cover music, you're really being judged against the original artist, how well you're playing it. So there's a lot of pressure with that.
Right. What is like some of your favorite type of guitars to play on most of the time?
So back in the early '80s and through most of that decade, there was a record label called Stratton, and it was run by a guy named Mike Varney, and he would discover all these incredible guitar players. That's where Yngwie Malmsteen came from, Jason Becker, Marty Friedman, just a ton of them. There's another one named Vinnie Moore. So that was I was way into that scene, listening to those guys. I mean, that was when guitar playing took a big leap into something just incredible. Just from blues based rock. Now all of a sudden you had people playing neoclassical stuff and drawing influences from other types of music. So I was way into that, and I was also way into the thrash metal scene, which was kind of the counter thing to the hair band thing. I liked some hair bands, that was okay, but when thrash metal came out, that really resonated with me. So when Metallica first came out, I was way into it. And then I'd read, back then we didn't have the internet, so you'd read the album credits, and I kept seeing this name in the songwriting credits, Dave Mustaine. I'm like, who's this guy? And then Megadeth came out, got way into that. Anthrax, Slayer, Testament, and the list goes on and on with those bands.
Yeah. What are or were some of your inspirations in the music industry to get into the music, to get into guitar playing or
Well, like I said, Kiss, Ace Frehley, I'm actually Gene Simmons first because I started out as a bass player, and then Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. I just love that guy's bass playing. He's one of the best, in my opinion. Geddy Lee from Rush. But when I switched to guitar, it was Eddie Van Halen. Joe Satriani was real big at the time. I was way into that. Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen. probably those are the main ones.
Definitely. Who helped you train to play guitar and helped you train to be a musician?
Well, my dad played a little bit of everything, so he's the one that taught me a lot of the fundamentals. How to play the basic chords and how to hold the guitar, strum and hold your pick. I had a really good teacher in my hometown of Kenosha. He still teaches to this day. His name's Terry Peterson, and everybody took lessons from this guy, and that's where I learned the bulk of the core of how I play is from him. And then, of course, after I graduated and moved here in '91, I went to music tech, and that just added more to it. And that was pretty much the extent of it. And then eventually you get to a point where you know enough, you know how to teach yourself, um, what you don't know. You understand music a certain way, and you know what you need to work on from that point.
Of course, yep.
And it's a never-ending quest.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the first band you played in was as a 15-year-old in high school. How did it feel getting to finally play in your own band, finally do something that you love to do, and starting out small and then knowing where you are now? How did it just feel getting to finally do something that you loved?
Oh, it was exciting. First of all, to find um, people your same age, a drummer, a singer, and all that, and get everyone together, and then get everyone, playing together. That's just that initial feeling is just great, and especially playing metal. So yeah, that was incredibly exciting.
Most definitely. Yeah. Are you still friends with the people to this day that you played with?
One of them I talked to about 5, 6 years ago. A couple of them I haven't talked to probably in 20, 30 years, probably 30 years.
Wow. Out of the three tribute bands or four tribute bands you've got to play for, which one would you say has been like your most favorite that you got to play for?
Well, it would have to be this current one. I I went to the singer who played in a Metallica tribute before this one, which was very successful, and they had quit playing like a year prior. And someone suggested that we get in a band together, a mutual friend. So I asked him if he would still be into it, and he was. And then the other two guys, the bass player and the drummer, bass player Sam and the drummer Aaron, I knew from working with them in other bands, and they were both my first pick to be in this band. And they both said yes. So this has been the most incredible lineup of musicians I've ever had. And to play Metallica music is just it's challenging, it's fun, and it's you can get a crowd doing it more so than any other metal band. But a close second would be the Megadeth too, because I really enjoyed playing that music too.
Right. Was it difficult having to put on the makeup and outfit all the time for Kiss, I'm guessing?
Oh yeah, so I'd have to allow myself. Well, I'd like to allow myself an hour and a half to do that. There's been times when I've only had about 40 minutes.
Oh,
um,
wow.
because Ace Frehley's makeup is one of the more difficult ones to do in the band. So, but yes, putting that on, wearing those platform shoes and stuff, and you gotta be careful how you're walking, not tripping over cords. You roll your ankle, and you can't itch your face. If you're sweating, you're gonna mess up your makeup, and you got all that. You got that costume on, and you literally, by the time you're playing, we've done shows that have been almost 3 hours. I mean, you probably sweat out 5 pounds because it's hot in that costume.
I bet. Wow. Yeah, I know for Halloween I've dressed up as Paul Stanley, Star Child, Gene Simmons, the Demon, and Eric Singer, the
Oh, cool.
Catman, so far. And my dad done the makeup for me, and it was pretty hard to do the
Yeah.
makeup and uh, do the outfits and stuff.
Yeah. Here's a funny story. So it got to my first Kiss gig, and I hadn't practiced putting on the makeup yet. And so the night before the show, I was like, shit, I better see if I can even do this myself. And surprisingly, I was able to, but it took time, and I never really got super fast at it. It's just one of those things you can't rush. Otherwise, it just looks like you rushed it. You just got to take your time with it.
Definitely, yep. When and how did the startup begin for the Kiss tribute band? And also, when did the Kiss tribute band like officially end? And did you know that the end was going to be coming?
That band was already pre-existed before I got it. It had different members, and I actually knew the singer before I was ever in the band. And I told him, man, if you ever need an ace, just let me know. And lo and behold, about 5 months later, they had a problem with their ace, or he quit, or whatever. I don't know. And he asked me, he says he quit. And this was in October of 2020. And they had a gig in December of 2020. He says, do you think you can be ready in a month and a half? And that was about all I had. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we did it. And then I played my last show with them last year at the same place where it started, at a place in Iowa. Um, it was just time for me to go. I did it for 3 years. I had a great time doing it. I already had the idea for this Metallica tribute, and we agreed to start it in the new year. So I wanted, to clear my plate of all the bands I was playing in, because I was playing in all those bands at the same time, and just focus on this one band starting this new year. So, and they replaced me with someone else, so that band's still going.
Nice, yeah. I mean, definitely if other things come up, like new stuff, I mean, take it while you can and try something new. So,
Yeah, it keeps you fresh, keeps you challenged. You don't get stagnant. Exactly.
yep. What about how did you start up in the Megadeth tribute band, and how did you get that gig to do that?
So that band, I was in the Iron Maiden tribute band, which was called Maiden Minneapolis, and I had been kicking around the idea of a Megadeth tribute band to people for years, and I never could find the right personnel. So the singer in the Iron Maiden tribute said he plays guitar too, but he didn't in the Maiden tribute. He said, "Yeah, I'd be into that." He goes, "I know a drummer and a bass player," so we put that together. So I was part of finding that found it. I was a part founder of that band. We put that together, and we would book that with the Iron Maiden tribute, and we would play in both bands. So that was a fun gig, because here you are, you're playing Iron Maiden, Megadeth all night.
You're right. You get to do two in one.
Right. And like I said, the only reason I left that too is because I wanted to focus on just Metallica. Playing in all those bands at once get to be a lot. And then there's always a problem where one project can't book a show because your other project has a gig. So, when I got in this one, I said, I'm just going to have this one. So it's fair to everyone. I'm not the one holding back the band because I have a gig with another band.
Right, yeah. What was it like getting to perform for Mad Mike's Funhouse and just getting to do work with them?
So that's another whole thing. So that started in 2020 also, in August of 2020. Um, well, actually, the band started a little bit before that, Mad Mike's Funhouse. But then one of the better places you want to play in the Twin Cities is a place called Route 47. They had lost their house band for their open mic night, which was a big big open mic. A lot of people come to that. So they asked us if we wanted to do it, and we took it. And that just kind of took off and exploded. That was once a week, every Thursday, open mic. And, I was part of the house hosting band. So that was a lot of fun too. And that was more a variety of rock and metal. So pretty much covered everything, just bar band music.
Right. So, being part of your Metallica band right now, what are some of your favorite things to play? Like, what songs are some of your favorites to play, and what are some of the things the fans love to hear from you guys?
Well, it's interesting because you got the early Metallica fans, which would be the first four albums, and then you got from the Black Album on those Metallica fans, which is like another generation. And of course, I was a big fan of the early stuff, but we cover everything. So learning some of the stuff off Load and Black Album, I've come to really like it, playing it. But as far as my favorites to play, um, most of the stuff off of Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning, probably Leper Messiah is one of my favorites. Disposable Heroes, of course, Master of Puppets too. Ride the Lightning, those are probably Creeping Death. Those are probably some of my favorites to play.
Definitely, those are good ones. Did you always know you wanted to play guitar in bands or just in general, or was there sometimes thinking of possibly doing something else than guitar? Did you ever play anything other than guitar? I know you mentioned in school band you played other, but outside of school, did you ever play anything else?
No, just the bass. Like I said, it was mainly guitar. I wanted, they say jack of all trades, master of none. So, I really wanted to zero in on it. I got into those real technical guitar players, and that just requires a lot of focus and skills. So I didn't really venture out and try to learn other instruments. I mean, I can play keyboards a little bit and bass, and I understand music enough to where if I went to learn another instrument, I don't believe it'd be too difficult. But now we have all these virtual instruments on our computers, right?
Right. Is your music mainly in Minnesota, or do you want to branch out at some time and maybe do like tours outside of Minnesota and do it all around the world? Is that something that you would be interested in possibly in the near future?
Well, we're looking to do it with this Metallica tribute. That's what he did before, the one he was in before. Um, we played 4 gigs so far, all mainly local. But when I was in the Kiss tribute and the Megadeth and Iron Maiden, we went to South Dakota, Wisconsin, Iowa, um, and different parts of Minnesota too. So it was kind of regional. But yeah, we're looking to do that, no doubt.
Yeah. What is one place you would definitely like to perform that you've never got to perform before?
Oh man, to go overseas would be incredible. Like I know it's chaos over there right now, but to play in the Middle East, what experience that would be. South America looks incredible. The fans there are just so into it and so thankful when bands come there. So, Brazil, I'd be way into playing there too.
Definitely, because there's a lot of people all around the world that love the music and that don't really get it a lot because where
No,
they are.
yeah, that's so true, and they're very appreciative when you come there.
Yep. While performing in the Kiss tribute band, what was usually your favorite song to perform?
So I had three songs. I'm not really a singer, but I can do it if I have to. So I had three Ace songs to do: "Shock Me," "Rip It Out," and "Rocket Ride." I love playing "Shock Me" because that's when I do the guitar solo, and we had the guitar loaded with a smoke bomb too. That I'd hit a button in the solo, and the smoke would come out. So I always like playing that one. And then there's another one called "Lover All I Can," which was off of "Dress to Kill." I just like that song because it's just such a unique song. And then a song called "Parasite" too.
Yeah, I love those ones. What was like? I'm guessing after like your last song was "Rock and Roll All Night," and that's what you guys ended with most of the time to carry out the fans with something big that they all know and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It was usually that one, and our Paul Stanley would throw buckets of confetti out to the people too. The bar loved cleaning that up.
Oh, I bet. What do you consider to be a weakness and then a strength of yours in the music industry?
I don't like to talk about weaknesses. I don't know if people should have them. No, I think what can be a weakness is if you get too arrogant, and I do see a lot of arrogance locally, and people that are big stars, because if you get arrogant, you're gonna stop growing and learning as a musician. So I always try to keep myself in check when I think that I'm sounding pretty good. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm sounding pretty good. Well, go listen to like John McLaughlin or El Di Meola, and then you realize how much you got to learn yet. Um, Probably my strength is my persistence. It's like I get real persistent on something. If I can't do something, it's just I'll just keep chipping away at it till I can do it. And I'm real loyal to people I'm in a band with.
That's good, yeah. What are some funny slash interesting road stories you could tell during your time as a musician, either within your time with Kiss, Megadeth, currently Metallica, Iron Maiden, or just in general on the road stories?
Well, there's one time with the Kiss band, we were doing a show probably a couple of years ago. Um, I went to do my guitar solo when I flicked the switch for the smoke. It decided to shoot out fire. There's actually a video of this. I could send it to you. And it popped one string, and I thought, oh, I could still play. Then it popped the second one. I'm like, well, it's going to be challenging. And then a third one, I just took my hands off it. And the
Oh,
fire went out, and it wasn't that bad. And then there was another time he told me he forgot to pack the thing with the smoke bomb. And I said, well, did you got just a regular smoke bomb you can pop in there? I'll light the fuse. And I was just joking. And he said, yeah, we can do that. So we did that. That thing gave off so much smoke. I thought I was going to pass out from the smoke. There's a video of that too, and I had to keep running from side to side so I could breathe while I was playing this guitar solo.
oh wow. Yeah. Yeah, I would hate to have that happen. All of
Yeah.
your strings break, and then what did you have to do afterwards? Did you have an extra guitar, or did you just play like that for the rest of the night?
Oh yeah. That's called the smoker guitar. So that was only used for that one song. So yeah.
All right, yeah. When was your first ever official music performance in front of a crowd, and how did you feel getting to perform for the first time in front of this big crowd?
Well, that first original band I told you about, El Justic Massacre, we would have house parties, and there'd be 30, 40, 50 people we played in front of. And that was a rush. But the first time I played in a bar was probably when I was 17. And it was cool. I wasn't too nervous because I'd already been playing parties and stuff. So yeah, it was a rush. But that's how it started out, just playing like house parties and stuff. And I did that in my 20s too. We had a party house and we'd have keggers and we'd play, and sometimes there'd be 300 people there. It was pretty crazy, but it's not bars, so there's kind of anything goes.
Right. What are some of your hobbies other than doing music and being a guitarist?
I like to ride motorcycles, sport bikes. I'm a dog owner. I have a German Shepherd right now. I love having a dog. Um, that's about it. The guitar takes up a lot of my hobby / free time. So
Right.
I'm not into
Yeah,
fishing or hunting or working on cars. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, German Shepherds are my favorite dogs. I've been really wanting one really bad. So when I get older, I might get one.
Yeah, I was like, just wanted one, and I've had other dogs that weren't German Shepherd. This one, no, he's full blooded, and they're so intelligent and so intuitive, and they can be overprotective too. So you got to socialize them, otherwise they can get you into trouble because they'll go after people.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's why they're good for police dogs.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Is a hobby of yours any of wrestling? Do you like watch wrestling in your free time as well?
Yeah, so I've always liked wrestling. There's a period in the 90s when I was way into it, and then not so much. Then of course my daughter Tiffany Stratton, when she got into it, we watch it all the time now too. So that's incredibly exciting because we've been to a couple matches in different cities. And of course, we get seats right up front. I've been backstage meeting a lot of those people, so that's incredibly thrilling. It's exciting to watch her as her star continues to rise.
Most definitely, yeah. If you could perform with any big name band, who would that be? Or if you could share the stage with any big name band or musician, who would it be?
I'd have to say Metallica. Um, what just
Yeah.
what they've accomplished over the years, and the way that they've always given the fans a lot in unique and original ways, with how I was just at the show like a month and a half ago here. Just the way that stage is set up, like a circle right in the middle of the arena. I mean, how cool is that? They're always thinking of how can we make this cooler for the people that come to our shows.
Yeah, of course, right, yeah. If you could perform as a pre-performance slash an opening performance for any band and or musician, who would that be?
That's a good question. I'd have to say them again,
Yeah.
just because you that type of fan base is what my original music would be like. Is those people that are in to metal like that, and I'm not talking about just a genre of metal, just classic metal that's kind of like timeless, like the classic timeless bands, metal bands. I would say are like Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Iron Maiden, Metallica. I mean, that's just classic metal. When you get a really good metal band, it should be timeless. It shouldn't be dated like something like I'm not saying this to rag on hair bands, but some of those bands, you kind of look at them now and you just laugh, because it was only specific to that time frame. And then there are some bands that kind of got lumped into that really weren't that. Like Tesla, that's just a timeless good rock band. Black Crowes, I like bands like that, timeless bands. That's who I'd like to perform with.
Most definitely, yeah. If you could go back in time and share the stage with any musician or band that has passed away, who would that be?
I'd have to say Jimi Hendrix without hesitation. Eddie Van Halen second, but Jimi Hendrix, he kind of started everything as far as electric guitar and playing with large amounts of volume on stage and rock and roll. And then I'd have to mention too Robert Johnson. I mean, they say he's the godfather of it all because rock and roll comes from the blues. It'd be interesting to play alongside him too.
Definitely, yeah. Have you ever had any albums out in your career? Or do you ever plan on possibly having albums out for your music ever in your career?
Well, that first original band, there was a 6-song EP. Um, I think it's online on YouTube right now. I played on other people's music. There's an artist named Jason Seal. I played guitar on some of his stuff. Some other local guys around here. I've done some recording work, but I've mainly just been, a live guitar player. I kicked around the idea when I was going to music school, doing studio work, and I did a little bit of that, but I just enjoyed playing live so much. It's just such a rush.
Yeah. And I'm guessing like the fans get you into it too, because like the fans out there help you out
Oh
by
yeah.
like cheering and
Well, you can't underestimate the energy that comes off a crowd. I mean, definitely that's a major factor in playing live is what kind of energy you're getting from the crowd.
definitely, yep. What is like your favorite music to listen to in your spare time other than the music you play? And are there any bands or musicians other than some of the bands that you play in, such as like Metallica or anything, that are stick out to you in particular?
Well, I really like jazz fusion artists like Jeff Beck. I like El Di Meola a lot. I listen to his music a lot. Went saw him live, a couple times. John McLaughlin, um, those type of guys, just more. You could almost call it world music instead of just jazz. They kind of draw influences and rhythms and beats from music all over the world. So that's what I like to listen to when I'm not jazz fusion. I'll listen to classical music too sometimes, but mainly jazz fusion.
Yeah. What would you say has been the biggest crowd you've performed in front of in your career, musical career?
Probably with the Kiss band, probably about 500-600 people.
Wow. Out of all the venues you've got to perform at, what venue would you say has been your most favorite to work at?
I really enjoy. Actually, that previous question, let me take that back. It was with the Kiss band, but it was last August at a event called Tribute Fest in Duluth, Minnesota, right on the lake, and that was an outdoor amphitheater. And there's probably 3,000 there. I totally forgot about that.
Oh wow.
Probably the biggest crowd. and they had cameras going and had jumbotrons and everything. So I just totally spaced that out. So that was, and I'd have to say that was probably my favorite place to play because the stage was just so big, and you get on a stage that big, everything changes. Like, holy cow, you know, you got room to roam, and it's just a whole different dynamic playing on a stage that big.
Right, yeah. In front of that many people as a tribute band, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So what that is it's put on by the veterans for the veterans, and it's always in late August. And there's two stages there, that main stage, and then there's a secondary stage. And we had played the secondary stage a year before and had a great crowd, so we got promoted up to the main stage last year. And it's just 2 days of all these tribute bands. It's right in Bayfront Park, right on Lake Superior in Duluth. It's a great time, and they have food there and everything.
Yeah. Are there any times that a fan has seen you in public and got like super surprised and or excited, either knowing you from your music career or as Tiffany's father?
Yeah, yeah. There's been quite a bit of that. Yeah, and it's, you know, it's cool, but it's like, I'm just a person like everybody else. But I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your favorite horror movie and favorite horror character if you have one?
I have to think about that for a second. So, do you remember the horror movie Phantasm and Phantasm 2? You ever see those?
I've heard of them.
So there's a character in here called the Tall Man. That guy is creepy as hell. So if I had to pick one, it would be him, followed by what was the other movie I was thinking? Um, The Conjuring, which is about the very
Mm,
first Conjuring movie too. That was pretty creepy movie. Supposedly based on a true story, which makes it even creepier.
right. Yeah, my favorite horror character is Chucky. I like Chucky, definitely the originals.
Yeah, yeah, those are good too. I have to say, a close second is Bram Stoker's Dracula. The guy, I forget who that was that played Dracula, but he did an incredible job in that. If you haven't seen that one, that's a good one
Yeah,
too.
that's yeah, I don't think I've seen that one, but I've heard of that one too. I think I've seen it, like seen what about it, but I haven't seen the actual movie though. So
Yeah, that's one of the better Dracula movies. I think it came out in the '90s. Keanu Reeves is in it. I think Anthony Hopkins, and God, I can't remember who played Dracula, but that's a pretty good movie.
yeah, if a movie was made about your career, who would you want to play you?
Oh man, who would I want to play me? How about uh, how about Mel Gibson in his in the mid '90s?
That would be good. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I guess that's who I'd pick.
Yeah, or you know who else I think that you look like is Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, I've gotten that.
Yeah, or even like Tiny Tim. What has been the funniest thing a fan has said to you before?
I'd have to think about that. Just, trying. The funniest thing, it's funny when you look back on it, but it's not funny while it's happening, is when they're trying to have a conversation with you when you're on the edge of the stage playing and they're trying to talk to you. It's like, dude, I'm in the middle of playing a song and they expect you to have a conversation with them. Hey, are you going to play so-and-so song? It's like, well, yeah, it's going to be the very last one. That's what I always say. And hopefully it gets them to stay the whole night.
Right. There's one way to keep them.
Right.
And also probably to make them shut up. So then, no.
Exactly.
What has been the best compliment or advice you've received from another musician?
The best compliment is, when you get someone that's really paying attention to details, like, oh man, you really nailed that solo in such and such song. As far as advice, um, a teacher told me once, a lot of times when we're playing by ourselves in our practice room, we feel like we're playing everything great and stuff, and then when we get in front of people, it feels like it's so easy to screw up. A teacher told me once, just try to always stay in that mind frame that you're in your practice room playing, and try to not block out the people watching you, but not be so self-conscious, of everything, and just get yourself in the zone.
Right, yeah. That's like for me with my trumpet when I'm playing by myself, you know, and then while with the band, but the other way around, I sound better with the band than I do without. What is your favorite thing to usually do after all your shows?
Well, of course, you got to wind down, especially playing metal music. So when I get home, I usually like to have a beer. And ever since we have the internet, social media, it's fun to go on there and watch people's videos they took of you playing, because you can kind of immediately see, what your performance was like. So that's kind of neat in that regard. And that's usually what I do. You can't go straight to bed because it's just, you got to let, the adrenaline, you got to let that die down.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, because you probably aren't tired right away, because after all of doing all that on the stage and everything, it's probably still working in you.
Yeah, you're still amped up,
Has there been any times a fan has came out of the crowd and ran up onto the stage you were performing on, or anything of that sort?
Yes. So the Megadeth and Iron Maiden bands were doing a show at a place called Wooly's in Iowa. It was just packed. And during the Megadeth, they were jumping up on stage and stage diving. And it was like we're back to the 80s, the mid 80s. I was like, this is incredible. This is awesome. And then the next time we played there, like 10 months later, they had barricades set up so they couldn't get to stage. Because there's liabilities nowadays and stuff. Everyone likes to sue each other. So yeah, lawyers wreck everything, don't they? But yeah, that was incredible to see that, because it was like I was watching there's a Megadeth video called Wake Up Dead, where they're playing in a hangar and they got like a cage fence around them. I don't know if you ever seen it, and they're diving off of it, stage diving and slam dancing. And it was kind of like that type of vibe.
Wow. I'm guessing there's been stuff thrown at you and the other band members on stage. What is some of the wild, wackiest stuff that you've been thrown, if there has been?
I've been lucky in that regard. I've never gotten hit by anything. There's been T-shirts thrown up there and stuff, and occasional plastic cup. Never a bottle or a can, thank God. So nothing too extreme that it comes to mind.
Right. Well, that's good.
A lot of times nowadays, if you do that stuff, there's like zero tolerance, and especially in a bar or a small venue, they'll kick you out right away. So, and it gets, it's kind of gets getting more and more expensive to get these shows and put them on, so people don't want to miss out on a show because they did something stupid.
Right. Yeah. Waste or spend all that money for nothing and then have to get kicked out, you know?
You know?
Have you ever crowd surfed?
No, I was always too big to do that sort of thing. If I tried doing that, people would just look at me like, I don't think so. So I'm like 6'3", 220 pounds, so I don't think people would take kindly to it.
What is the most wild, wackiest thing you've had to sign, if there was anything?
um, it's wild. I don't know. Wacky is the right term, but boobs.
Oh, yeah. Of course, there's always people
Right.
like that.
Yep.
Do you eventually sign them?
Sign them right away. Of course, we're talking about females. We ain't talking about man boobs.
Right.
Now, if it was a man boob, a guy who wanted me to sign his boob, I'd say, yeah, I'll be right back. I gotta go to bed, and I don't think I'd come back.
All right.
All right, go get a singer and tell them, hey, they want you to sign something.
Yep. Oh, that'd be funny, yeah. If you could join up and do any other tribute band that you have not done that you would possibly be interested in or doing, what tribute band would you want to perform for?
I don't know of one around here, but a Tesla tribute band would be something I'd be into, because I really love that band and their music.
Yeah. That'd be something. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that's just one of those bands that I've always liked a lot.
Yeah. Is there any time you've ever thought about going on like a music show such as AGT or any of that as a band or as a single performance?
Uh, Not really giving it much thought. I'm not really hip to a lot of that stuff either. It's like the rock and metal scene. Um, while it's not really mainstream, if you go to any of these festivals and stuff, it's like there's definitely a niche there. There's a lot of people into it and stuff. So I kind of just stay in that scene and stuff, and I don't look too much outside of it. Not really into pop music. Occasionally, I'll cross paths with a song. I've filled in for variety bands before, and I did a country gig once, just because I had time to take on the challenge. Actually, this variety band and this country band, it was 2 gigs in the same days, so that was fun to learn all that music and get a little hip to what's newer and stuff. But that's not really a world I want to play in, and I don't want to be a pop music person. I'm more of a metal hard rock guy.
Right, yeah. I know Steel Panther performed on AGT this like a year ago or so. I don't know if you've seen that, but yeah.
Those guys are really good. They're all very good musicians, and you know, they kind of make a parody of it, but still with performing really good. So, and they put the comedy in it too. So that's cool that they do that.
Right, yeah. If could you tell more about that country gig that you did? What was it like getting to do that for like the first and ever time that you did that?
It was really interesting and challenging because you got to think completely different. I have a wide variety of different guitars, so I had to write guitars and the ability to get the correct sounds to do that. I had a few months to prepare, and then when we played it, you realize how big of a niche that is. A lot of people are into that music, and it was just fun and challenging to do it. It's not something that I would want to do all the time, but it was definitely I learned something from taking on a challenge.
Right, yeah. What is one of the hardest things you've had to learn to do on the guitar, and what is one of the easiest things to do on the guitar?
Um, well, the easiest thing is probably playing just your basic power chords and stuff, playing those, your open strings. The hardest things are these guitar solos and some of these metal songs. And then with Metallica, a lot of the rhythms in their songs, James Hetfield is one of, if not the best guitar player I've ever tried to duplicate. So you, some of the stuff I had to really break down my technique and make sure I was getting the picking right just to get it, to be true to the original. So I'm being challenged a lot right now just with playing Metallica's music. It's a lot of the early stuff is not easy to play.
Yeah, definitely. What usually gets you hyped for a performance that you are going to be doing?
Just our set list, what's in the set list, what I'm going to look forward to playing, getting into social media after you've been promoting a gig for a while and you're getting a lot of people interested in it on your social media posts. That all builds up the anticipation and stuff. And then when you get there and you see there's a good crowd and you're doing your sound check and it just keeps building and building, and then you come out and do your first song and then you settle into your groove and then you just, take it from there.
Yeah. What has been your favorite venue or place you've gotten to perform at in your career?
Probably that outdoor amphitheater that I told you about for Tribute Fest in Duluth, just because it was such a big stage. I really like the outdoor stuff. We did one with this Metallica tribute too at a place called Nordic Brewing. In their back parking lot, they had like all day metal fest. It was like 6 different bands. There was a Priest tribute,
Mm.
Lincoln tribute, a Korn tribute, us, and a Perfect Circle too. And then I think another one other one, and that was just a fun show because it was one of those days where it was in the mid 70s, sunny, not too hot, and there was a great crowd there. And I just really like the outdoor stuff.
Yeah. Has there been any time you have accidentally made a mistake on the guitar playing while performing? in front of a crowd?
Oh, it's been plenty of times. Oh yeah, there's been plenty.
Yeah.
People won't even notice it. What I realize, you think everyone's going to notice every little mistake. A lot of times you see a video back of it, and it's like, God, you can't even tell. But you got to try to not be in your own head so much. You get too much into your head, and it can affect your performance. Mistakes are going to happen live. You just got to roll with it and move on. Get about it right away. They call it live for a reason. Nowadays, with everyone with their phones at shows recording, it kind of does put more pressure on you to really be on your game, because you know that if you do something really blatant, someone's gonna have it recorded. You know what I mean? So it's important to
Mm-hmm.
be on top of your game, and if you do screw up, just keep playing. Don't sit there and make it obvious that you screwed up.
All right. Yeah. Same thing for like wrestling. Like if you mess up, then just get back up and or whatever you messed up on. A lot of people don't recognize that it happened, and so you know.
Oh, I learned a lot about that because our daughter is in it. They have to do plenty of improvising themselves too. If something doesn't go as planned, you got to keep going because you're live on TV. So yeah, it's really kind of the same thing.
Yep. Has there been any scary or dangerous incidents that have happened to you in your music career?
Uh, I I wouldn't say anything on stage. There's been scary people you see in the audience, maybe, but mainly coming back late at night. Like if you're traveling down dark roads and you're already half tired from the gig, and a freaking deer jumps out, and you got to slam on the brakes. That's probably one of the more
Mm.
scary things.
All right. What are 4 words you would use to describe yourself?
Persistent, loud, fast, heavy.
What are 3 things that annoy you the most about the music industry, and 3 things that you like the most about the music industry? Yeah.
3 things that annoy me is the politics of it. There's politics at every level in the music scene. Ass kissing going on, um, shit talking. Uh, I get annoyed by people that are overcritical, go out of their way to, be it social media or whatever, point out someone's mistake or give them all kinds of crap. Usually, those type of people, if you go to their profile, you can see how miserable they are. No one really likes them or nothing, but that's annoying. And sound technicians at some of these gigs that don't know what they're doing, that is incredibly annoying, because then you don't get a proper monitor mix on stage, and then you got people out front, because when you're on stage playing, you don't know what it sounds like out front, and you get people that come to your show, some of your friends and fans, and they're saying, "Man, I can barely hear your guitar," or they don't have the vocals loud enough, or the bass drum's too loud. That's incredibly annoying. So I'd say those are the most annoying things. The things I really like is playing live, obviously, which I've said. Um, Seeing people smile when you're playing, seeing people of all religions and political ideologies all kind of come together and have a good time at a show, because political rally, you only get one group of people, ideology. With music, it kind of brings people of all ideologies and religions together. So seeing people come together and smile and have a great time, that's probably one of the most rewarding things. And then getting paid well, getting paid well for all the effort you put into it. And a lot of people say, well, I don't do it for the money. It's like, yeah, bullshit. Everyone has to get paid well for what they do, because it's not just what you're doing on stage. It takes years and years of practice, to get to a level where you can play at the level you want to play at. And people don't realize how much sacrifice and time that takes. So,
Yeah, of course, right. If you are upset or anxious before a performance, what do you do to help yourself calm down usually?
usually, I always have a guitar in my hands, the guitar that I'm going to open the show with, and I'm just running scales and keep staying loose. And that alone keeps me focused on that, and so my mind doesn't wander to things that makes me anxious or nervous. So that's usually what I do. I'll just have a guitar backstage with me or wherever, and make sure I'm keeping my hands loose.
Yeah, of course. What has been the best fan art you have received, if you have received any, in your musical career?
Hold on, I'll grab it for you. It's on my wall right behind me. Someone made this for me,
Wow,
and that is Ace Frehley from the '74 tour, his costume, and that is the same costume I wore when I was in the Kiss tribute band. Someone handed that to me, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
that's cool. Wow, that's nice. Do you still have some of like your original gear that you wore for Kiss and from your other tribute bands?
Yeah, it's all in my closet. Yeah, they asked me if I would sell it, and I said no, I'm going to keep it because you never know, right?
Right, yeah, you never know. And it's prized possession and something that you might want to carry with you to remember.
Yeah, and Halloween too, if you want to dress up.
Right. Hand it off to your grandkids or when you get for way back, so you never know.
You know,
What is a number one top unforgettable moment in your music career that just is stuck with you for the rest of your life that you will never forget?
there's been a few times on stage, um, where you get totally in the zone. It doesn't even feel like you can make a mistake if you try. And that's happened about 3 times. And that was the neatest feeling ever.
Right, yeah.
It's good. I
Because then
guess,
you don't want to stop.
yeah, where mind, body, and everything just comes together and you just get in the zone. That's a neat feeling when that happens.
Of course. If you could go back in time and tell your younger self something motivational towards being a musician slash guitarist to what you are today, what would it be?
That's a good question too. Um, I don't know. It's just practice more, I would say. Just practice more and probably just that. And maybe
Right.
try different cities too. Try moving to different cities and checking out music scenes there. I've always kind of just been here. Um, I know there's some great music scenes, in other cities.
Right, yeah. Definitely like the big cities like Tennessee.
Yep.
Um, I've been there for my band. We traveled there last year to go to Nashville and to do stuff. We get to play. We got to go to the Grand Ole Opry. We got to play where Elvis Presley used to do his studio stuff, and we just visited the old Grand Ole Opry, and it was pretty cool with all the stuff we got to do. So yeah,
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. Yeah, a lot of music history in that city, undoubtedly.
definitely. Yeah. What are some things you still want to achieve in your music career that you have not achieved yet?
Well, I'd say playing overseas would be one of them. Um, Getting some original music out there, um, some more original music out there would be one too. Um, yeah, mainly just that. Just to play overseas would be anywhere overseas would be a just great time.
Of course, yeah. Who would you put in your Mount Rushmore of bands and or musicians?
So you're saying like four of them?
Yeah.
Well, for bands, it beat up tribute bands I've played in. Kiss, Iron Maiden, Megadeth, and Metallica. As far as guitar players, that's changed a lot over the years. From when I first started to where I am now. But it would definitely have to be Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen, um, a guy named Marty Friedman that was guitar player in Megadeth, and oh man, probably maybe Gary Moore.
Yeah, that's a good list.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much longer do you think you will keep going with doing music? Do you ever think about retiring at any time, or do you know that you want to keep going until you really can't anymore?
No, I think you just keep going until you can't anymore. So there was a guy named Les Paul. Obviously the guitar was named after him. That guy was playing in his 90s until like a week before he passed away. Actually went to his gravesite in Wisconsin last year. That was
Hmm.
is where he's from. But music is cool in that way where it's not like sports, especially more physical sports like football, baseball, basketball, whatever. You continue to learn with music and get better and better. You might lose some physical attributes, but you might become more tasteful in how you present your music and how you play it. So that's the exciting thing about music, and you never really reach a peak or
Mm-hmm.
where you can't acquire any knowledge because there's so many different forms of music where you can acquire knowledge and express yourself in different ways. So as long as I can continue to play, I don't see any reason to ever quit.
Right, yeah. If you could guest star in any TV show and or movie, which would it be?
That'd be cool to guest star in one of the Rocky movies.
Oh,
Or
yeah, that would be great.
I'm a big fan of all those action movies from the '80s. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, Bruce Willis, Die Hard, Mel Gibson, Lethal Weapons. All those movies back then were so. What a great time to grow up. I mean, it was fun.
Most definitely, yeah. When you were growing up, were you more of like a shy, quiet kid or outgoing, loud, and excited?
I was more of an introvert, definitely.
Yeah. So to go on to more of the wrestling side of things for the questions. So I know you mentioned earlier you were a wrestling fan growing up. were there any shows that you got to attend as a kid, and is there any that stand out to you that you've got to attend?
Yes. So right around the time I probably started playing guitar in the mid '80s, I had a friend, older friend in the neighborhood, and we went to quite a few shows in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I remember seeing Ric Flair, and these were AWA shows. So this was when the AWA WWF kind of existing at the same time before Vince McMahon got everyone from AWA to come to WWF. So I remember seeing Ric Flair with the AWA. I remember seeing the Midnight Rockers, which was Shawn Michaels, and I can't remember the other guy. And then they all them people went on to be huge stars in the WWF. So I remember those pretty good. And then in the '90s, used to watch pay-per-views all the time in the Attitude Era with the Undertaker, Diesel, Hitman, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, of course, all those guys, and that was a really fun period too. Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, great guys. And it was great because AWA was a lot in the Minnesota area and Wisconsin area a lot, so it was pretty nice too, as for you as a kid getting to easily attend.
Yeah, I should tell you too. How we got Jessica Tiffany Stratton into wrestling is my wife had gotten the contact for Vern Gagne. His dad were the ones who ran the AWAs, so I sat down and had breakfast with him about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was telling all these stories about Hulk Hogan and all these people, and it was so cool to hear. And Vince McMahon had the big TV contract, so that's how he was attracting all those people to leave AWA and go to WWF.
That's cool. Yeah, I had Greg on my podcast a while
Oh,
back too. He is a great guy.
oh, cool! How long ago?
I would say about like 5, 6 months ago at the
Okay,
most.
so you probably brought up
Yeah.
Tiffany. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yep. So there were rumors going around that Tiffany may want to go into acting at some point in her career. Do you know if she's actually interested in doing that at some point in her career? And do you think we could see her in Hollywood at some point in her career?
Well, she's expressed interest in that, and of course, you get all offers. Some of this stuff is just B movies and stuff, but yeah, she has an interest in it right now. But um, I mean, for the future, but right now she's just really focused on her career and looking to become as successful as possible with that. But I could see her doing it in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she would make a great actor or actress. Because what she does in the ring and how she puts on a great persona for what she does, I think it would fit well in Hollywood. So,
Yeah. Undoubtedly. Yeah.
growing up, Tiffany was in gymnastics, weightlifting, and bodybuilding. What are some of the great achievements and awards she won from her time being in weightlifting and bodybuilding, and what did that help her later in her wrestling years?
So she started gymnastics when she was just a little girl, and practice was 3 nights a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And just for years, we drove her there until she got her license, and she drove herself, and continued to get better and better and better. And as you're growing, doing her gymnastics consisted of tumbling, trampoline, and double mini trampoline. Those were the three events she competed in, and she just got better and better as the years went on. A lot of traveling. We go to competitions. As far as the weightlifting, the CrossFit, she got into that later after high school. Um, she started doing that after she took the gymnastics as far as it was going to go. She got into that CrossFit, and then she started doing powerlifting competitions and stuff. Did that for a few years. And then the bodybuilding thing came on because she had gone down to try out after Greg helped us get her a tryout for WWE. She was sent down there, invited for a tryout in March of 2020. Well, you remember then it was the middle of March of 2020. She got down there, was there for a day, and they shut the whole, they shut down everything because of the pandemic. She had to come back, and they told her, we got to wait now.
Yeah.
It wasn't until another year later where she was back there. But in that year time right there is when she did the bodybuilding thing. And she got herself all cut up and ripped, and she entered that competition, and she ended up winning the first time she ever entered. And I definitely think those three things helped her because, to be in gymnastics, it takes a lot of agility. And then the CrossFit thing, it takes a lot of strength and endurance. And that's a totally different way of training than like bodybuilding. Bodybuilding, you're counting your calories and you're looking just to get as well defined as you can. So she knows how to do each one of those things. And, together, you put all three together, it's like, you should be unstoppable because you know how to look good, you know how to move good, and you know how to eat right, to have the endurance to do all that stuff.
Of course. Yeah. And for gymnastics, her signature that she does is the backflip off a top rope. That gymnastics probably definitely helped her out with that. Where did she come up with to do that move?
So she was very creative. She created her whole character and stuff. She was tossed around a few names, and she went with Tiffany Stratton. And she, if you think back to earlier, I don't know if you watched her from the beginning. She had one called the Tiffany Twister that I don't think she does anymore. And then she went to the moonsault. I think she pretty much came up with that herself. Some other people probably helped her come up with some stuff too in wrestling. They help you with that sort of performing part too. But she was the main creative force in creating that character, and what it is, and it's just an amplified version of herself, really.
Definitely, yeah. She had a couple of personas that she's done now in her career. First starting out in NXT and now on main roster. So yeah. Was Tiffany a fan of pro wrestling as a kid? Did she watch it ever, or did that start later for her?
So I wouldn't say she was like a huge fan. Our son was, and so was I. So it was on a lot, like Monday, SmackDown and Monday Night Raw, and she would see it in the background. Um, but when this gymnastics thing came to an end, and she was here, this is probably 5, 6 years ago. My wife was flipping through the channels, and my wife said to her, says, Jessica, look at this. You could easily do this. And Jessica started watching this, and then she really got into it. Like, wow, this is cool. I could totally see myself doing that. So that was when she really got into it.
Great, yeah, nice.
Watching was Charlotte Flair.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is there any reasoning behind why your son didn't ever try doing wrestling?
We've talked to him about it before. It's like, you either got a passion for it, want to do it, or you not, or you don't. And he has other things he likes to do, but yeah, he just never really had the desire to do it. And he could too. He's a big kid too, and he works out all the time. He could, but you got to want to do something.
Yeah, right. So Tiffany went to college at St. Catherine University in Minnesota. What was her major when she went to college originally? What did she originally want to do?
So she was in college just for a short amount of time, medical field. and that's what she was studying. But it was for a very short amount of time.
Yeah. What was the training process like for Tiffany while she was getting to work with Greg Gagne and Mr. Kennedy in Minnesota? How did that help her? How long did she work with them before she got with the WWE?
So I would say close to maybe 2 years. Like I said, um, she worked for a while. Initially I told you we had breakfast with them, and then she started training with them. And then, like I said, she went down there for a tryout, and they turned everyone back because of COVID. So she had almost, like a whole nother year to prepare, and that was probably a blessing in disguise because it made her prepare even more and train even more. So I'd say a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, because I want to become a pro wrestler, and I was actually thinking about possibly even going to Mr. Kennedy in Minnesota because I'm here in Wisconsin. So
Okay,
um, yeah, um,
what
I've
part
been
of?
thinking about maybe I live in Marinette slash Peshtigo, 45 minutes from Green Bay.
Oh wow. Okay, so I grew up in Kenosha.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, not that far from where I'm at.
I spent a lot of time in Green Bay. My mother grew up there, and my grandma lived there, so I'm very familiar with that area.
Oh, okay. Cool. How did Tiffany get her start at training at the W Performance Center, and uh, what was it like for her getting to work at the W Performance Center after like the whole COVID thing um, and everything?
Well, they agreed to sign her, so she moved down there. It was probably a little nerve wracking at first, but she adjusted quickly to it. I mean, she took to it very quickly. I think she had her first strikeout match like in November of what was it, 21. But Shawn Michaels runs that place, so she was dealing with him every day, and she told me that. I'm like, shit, you know who that is? It's like because I used to watch them all. Then she told me maybe
Right.
other guys would stop in there all the time, like big retired pros. She told me, I just met the Undertaker one time. He stopped in there to see who the new NXT people were. So it was an exciting time for her, and she kept developing herself and getting better. One of the big things was getting good on the mic, and that's a huge thing in wrestling. And she improved at that pretty rapidly. She started, you know, wasn't the greatest, but she really improved at that and worked on that a lot.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah, because her persona definitely went a long way with her mic skills, what she was doing. So yeah.
Right. That's such a huge part of wrestling too, is charisma and character when you're on the mic.
Yep. What was yours and your wife's reaction to the news when you heard that your daughter Tiffany was actually getting signed to the WWE for the first time?
Oh, it was great. We were really happy to her, and just kept promoting and praising her as much as we could on social media and word of mouth and all that. I just thought of yes, coolest thing ever.
Yeah, of course. How often do you get to see or talk to Tiffany with her being on the road 24/7 and now getting a big push by the WWE and always on television 24/7?
Well, we talked to her via text and you know every couple days or at least once a week. Um, The last time we saw her was in Toronto, Canada. We went to that one and were at that match and spent some time with her. And then before that, we were at WrestleMania in Philadelphia. And then we were at one in Texas too, an NXT one. So we'll go to ones when we can, and it's always fun because she gets us great seats and you get to meet a lot of these people in real life, and it's just it's a great time.
Right, yeah. Definitely, if you got to be there for WrestleMania, there was a lot of legends
Oh yeah,
there and stuff. So,
yeah.
Tiffany's first ever big achievement in the wrestling ring was winning the NXT Women's Championship. What was your reaction to seeing Tiffany win the title, and were you in attendance live for that win?
No, I wasn't in attendance, but yeah, that was incredible to watch. We were really happy for her. Yeah, it was just a great time watching her through all her hard work. Achieve something like that. It was we're very happy for her, and it was really exciting.
Yeah, that's definitely where then you knew that that's where her start was moving on and where she was getting that big push. So,
Yeah, and then another big moment was when Becky Lynch came and wrestled her too for that title. That was a really cool match to see. I think that was definitely a iconic moment that kind of elevated her too when they had that match.
of course, yeah, that was amazing. I watched that, and you know, Becky Lynch coming from main roster to wrestle Tiffany for the title, it was just awesome.
Yeah, she ended up having to get stitches after that one too because of that. I think it was the hard hat when Becky headbutted her with that hard hat on. It actually opened up a gash by her eye. She had to get stitches after that one.
Mm,
So they tell you it's all fake. It's like what they're people get hurt all the time. It's like that's why you have to be ready to go because your number could be called.
right, yeah. Yeah, you get hurt all the time in wrestling, so if you don't mind sharing, how and when did Tiffany and Ludwig meet, and what are your thoughts on Ludwig as a wrestler in the ring?
So she was still in NXT when she met him, and I've met him many times and sat down and spent time with him. He's a great guy, really nice guy. Um, she was still in NXT, and he really helped her a lot too. And she'll tell you that helped her along, get to this next level and stuff. And he's a great guy. He's from Germany. I think he's a great wrestler. Him and Gunther put on a hell of a show. They're a great tag team too. So I'm happy that she has someone like that.
Yeah, definitely. Is it true that Giovanni was trying to get her at some point too?
I don't know about that. I never even heard that rumor, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay, yeah, because I heard from some places that Giovanni was trying to fight over Tiffany over. So
Really?
yeah,
Huh?
yeah,
No, she never mentioned anything like that, so I never heard that.
all right, yeah. It might not be true, so
Yeah,
yeah,
always rumors, right? That's what makes it
yeah.
fun.
Right, yeah. You never know what to trust or not.
Yeah.
When Tiffany was wrestling in NXT, she played the gimmick of a glamorous, like, rich daddy's girl. Was there any time you ever thought you could have made your NXT debut to be part of like a segment with her of some sort? Because as like a rich daddy's girl, she was always mentioning like her dad and stuff. Was there any time that you think a time that you would be part of the segment would be cool?
Well, I jokingly said to her, I'm like, why didn't you call me? But yeah, that would be something kind of fun, you know. It's all theatrical, you know, and it's just creating a character and stuff. But um, yeah, I guess that would be cool. But you know, everything moves fast in that business, so you just got to keep moving along.
Right, yeah. What are 4 words you would describe Tiffany's wrestling personality?
Her wrestling personality, not a real personality.
Correct, yeah.
Her wrestling personality, pompous, um, confident, brash, um, and sassy.
Yeah. She works a good heel, so I mean,
Yeah,
that's her job.
you know.
Yep.
And it's funny too because even as a heel, I've been to some of these live events, and she gets a lot of cheers for being a heel. I mean, they really cheer when she comes out.
Yeah, she's like my favorite women's wrestler, and I'm a big fan of hers, so I cheer for her. So I mean, yeah.
It's awesome.
What was your reaction to when Tiffany got called up to the main roster? And did you see when that happened? Did you see big things planned and coming for Tiffany's future?
So that was really exciting too because that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, that's always what your ultimate goal is to get on main roster. Um, Usually, what happens, it seems, what happens in this business is, you know, someone leaves or someone gets hurt, and they always tell you you need to be ready at all times because you never know when you get called up. You know, most of the time you don't know when you're gonna get called up, and when she got called up, it was really exciting, you know, and to see her on the main roster and see her on SmackDown, it was definitely thrilling.
Definitely, yeah. So the biggest achievement in Tiffany's career so far, from what I think, is winning the Women's Money in the Bank briefcase. So, what was your reaction to seeing her win the Money in the Bank briefcase? And were you in attendance for that?
Yes, we were in attendance for that. That was in Toronto, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
and we were sitting right in the second row, so that was great to see, and it was great to be there for that. That was a really fun weekend. That was over like the Fourth of July weekend. I remember we left to go get on an airplane on the Fourth of July, and I remember thinking, well, I'm not missing nothing here in America, so because it was pouring rain, and actually had the fireworks by us the night before because all it did was rain all Fourth of July.
mm,
So yeah, that was a fun weekend and it was exciting.
of course, right? Yeah, I think a lot of people actually seen it coming for her winning the Money in the Bank briefcase because there was a lot of people talking about it, and uh, it was really cool to actually see it happen, and I was so excited. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned that she got handed Tiffany got handed a couple names. How did she get her name, Tiffany Stratton?
She created that herself. So Tiffany is the first name of her mother. So she used her mother's name because if it wasn't for her mother, she would have never got Greg Gagne's contact, who helped her get the tryout because she had sent things to the WWE before and didn't get a response. Of course, when you attach Greg's name to it, that helped her and opened up all kinds of doors. And That was due to her mother. So she used her mother's first name, and then Stratton, she just came up with that on her own. I never asked her
Er,
how with that, but she came up with that on her own.
Right, yeah. And to go back to the Money in the Bank, I mean, getting trained by Mr. Kennedy, who's a former Money in the Bank um, briefcase winner, and then she goes on to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. It's pretty cool that she got trained by one, and then she later on won the briefcase. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
and Kennedy is also originally from Wisconsin too.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, Appleton.
Yeah, I know Appleton very well. Yeah.
Hmm. What do you think is next for Tiffany after getting in a somewhat of a heated argument, kind of with Nia Jax this past Friday on Friday Night SmackDown? Do you think she will be cashing her Money in the Bank briefcase soon on Nia?
Well, that's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, obviously I saw that too, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out because Tiffany Stratton wants that championship, and she's been kind of tiptoeing around here and there. So that's all I know. I don't know anything else.
Right. Yep. I'm always thinking that she's definitely going to turn on Nia sooner or later and get that title from her. So I'm just waiting for that moment.
Yeah,
Because personally, I don't really like Nia Jax as a wrestler. Um, I mean, she's good in the ring and everything. She's great. Um, I just don't really like her character much.
yeah,
Yeah. But her teaming up with Tiffany is she and her have a um, great pair to be together.
yeah,
She's the queen and she's like the princess, so it's makes a great pair.
yeah. They have a good chemistry together. Um, and I met Naya when we were in Toronto, and she's just a sweetheart of a person too. Just a nice person.
Yeah. Where did the catchphrase "Tiffy time" come from?
I I wish I could tell you. That was something that kind of evolved as her character evolved. She came up with that, but I couldn't tell you exactly how she came up with that.
Yeah. What is one of like some of your favorite matches in that you've got to watch that Tiffany Stratton has done?
Um, Definitely that Becky Lynch one. That was a great match. She had one when she was in NXT with Sol Ruka, and I thought that was a really good one too because he had two incredibly athletic women in there, and that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, because they definitely both had the great acrobatic skills of doing all the flips and all those types of things. So they definitely matched well together.
Yeah.
So during her NXT time in her career, she did a lot of. She had a lot of championship opportunities, where she once got into the finals with Roxanne Perez. She was inching really close to it, and Roxanne Perez got the win over her. What was that like for you to see that as she was inches really closer to that title?
Well, for me, I was just like, well, she's still cutting her teeth in this, and you just gotta from that situation take from it and learn from it and move on and build upon it and know what you need to do better, know what you need to improve on, and that's how you handle that sort of thing. You don't let it get you down. You just double down on what you need to do better, and you improve it, and then come back the next time, and hopefully you're successful. What she was.
Right. Right. Yep. So there was a time where she got injured due to a head injury from NXT, and she made her comeback on an NXT. Is that one of the worst injuries she's gotten, or is there any time that you know of that she's gotten any worse injuries?
Yeah, that would probably be the one that set her back a little bit, but she's real tough and she recovers from stuff pretty quick. She she broke her arm once as a little kid, fell out of a tree, and she just showed a lot of toughness even then. And they didn't set her arm right, and they had to re-break it. I remember it was just a terrible.
Hmm.
She recovered from that and was just fine. So she has a lot of toughness to her. So I think she's
Yeah.
from an injury is not just physical. There's a mental part to it too. You got to overcome that too. She's always been able to do that.
Right. Yep. So when she went to SmackDown, her debut match was against Mia Yim, which later she went on to then wrestle more and more, and where she went on to then to wrestle Zelina Vega for the Elimination Chamber spot. What was your reaction to her getting to be in the Elimination Chamber and seeing her just perform amazingly in the Elimination Chamber?
So that was in Australia, if I remember correctly, right?
Yep.
Um, yeah, she was great in that, and she texted me and told me that the fans just loved her there too. So that was I would say that would, like the Becky Lynch match, that would be another milestone in her career so far that kind of elevated her up to the next level.
Yeah, most definitely. Because I know, like, when WWE is all around the world, like, recently they were in France, and I heard that France was just an insane, great crowd because they were so loud and just cheering all the time. So when they're around all around the world, it's like the fans are crazy. Like in Canada, for like the Canadians, Sami Zayn and stuff like that, they go crazy and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know,
Yeah,
when we're in Canada too, Trish Stratus came out, and she's from Toronto, and yeah, they just love her there. A lot of quite a few wrestlers. Kevin Owens too. I think he's from Canada. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot from there. So yeah, Tiffany was also took part of the Queen of the Ring, where she got pretty close. And what was it like to see her in the Queen of the Ring getting that opportunity to become a queen?
Oh, that was really exciting too. Of course, we're always cheering for her.
Crown.
Yeah, that was a great time too. Just another line of real excitement. Watching it build and build and build. So yeah, just a lot of fun.
Right. Yep. What are some inspirations that uh, Tiffany's inspirations on her wrestling personality and just in general?
Uh, she really likes Charlotte Flair. That was like probably her main inspiration when she started. Um, I could answer for on any other ones, but I know that was like the main one.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Definitely. I think them two would definitely have a great match against each other. The Queen versus the Princess. Again, like, you know,
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll happen in the near future.
right, because Charlotte's not there right now due to injuries. So you never
Yeah,
know when she'll come back. And she may come back when Tiffany's champion and, try to get the championship from her. So you never know. So,
right, right.
so also the Royal Rumble that Tiffany took part of. What was it like getting to see her um, be the last four part of the Royal Rumble? Getting to see her be really, really close to the end.
Once again, that was really exciting too. The Royal Rumbles are always, just fun to watch and a really good time because you get everybody out there. But just another one of those events that elevated her up just a little bit more. Building upon her previous success and giving a glimpse of what was to come. Still there? Did I lose you? You there? I think I lost you. You there?
Sorry about that. I got kicked off because of the internet.
Oh,
All right, so you were cutting out on that last question. If you don't mind re-answering that.
it's just another, you know, um, landmark event that built her up a little bit more and gave a glimpse of what was to come. Just watching her get elevated. With each match up to a higher level. So yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So for her first ever debut match in WWE, how did you feel seeing her get to make her debut? And then how did you think the fans were going to react seeing her for the first time?
It was definitely thrilling and exciting and a little nerve wracking. You never know how WWE fans are going to react. But it was mostly positive in the beginning, and then it got better and better as the time went on. And then people really started to love her character.
Right, yep. What are some things that just keep her going in wrestling that you may know of?
She wants to be the best, be remembered as one of the best. She's always been really driven um, in everything that she's done, even from when she was very young. So she's always driven to do better and get better and improve herself. So there was never a problem there. And as far as what motivates her now, you would have to ask her that because she doesn't live here anymore. But she
Right.
definitely self motivated and she's hell bent on being the best.
Yeah. If a movie was made about Tiffany's career, who do you think would be able to play her well?
I'm not really hip to a lot of the young actors, so if I was to pick someone, it'd be an older actress. Uh, Maybe Cameron Diaz or Angelina Jolie. I don't know.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. Cameron Diaz, yeah.
Maybe a cross between those two, someone like that. I don't know.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, I could definitely see that.
Uh,
Do you know if Tiffany was anxious starting out in her wrestling career when just starting out and getting out in the crowd? And was there any nervousness in her and just.
I think a little bit, but she knows how to manage that because of those things we talked about earlier, the bodybuilding, the powerlifting, and the gymnastics events. She's used to being in front of a crowd. A lot of these gymnastic meets, there's big crowds there, and you're used to performing in front of people. So that definitely helped her when it came to this. She had some experience with being in front of people and performing in front of people.
Of course, yeah. So, to finish off the interview, what is one thing you would tell your fans?
Um, keep Thank you for all the support. Um, and I hope you continue to support me in the future and always keep a positive mindset and just be happy.
Yeah. And then for my last question, do you have any advice? Because this is something I ask every one of my guests. Do you have any advice for me to possibly become a wrestler if you would have any advice?
My advice would be to get yourself in the best physical conditioning you can. In wrestling, that means having the lungs more than anything. Of course, you want big muscles, but you want the cardio. So I would say focus on the cardio, maybe so you don't run out of gas up there. And then always think about your character and how you want to come off to people, and then study people that are similar to the character you want to develop and learn from them.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. And I thank you for taking your time out to do this interview. It was a pleasure to have you on here.
Oh, thank you. It was fun. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Is there anything you would like to say, last words, or where anybody could find you?
You'll find us playing around the Twin Cities area, and hopefully we'll be more regional. And I'll definitely keep everyone connected on Facebook when that happens. This is a relatively new band. We started our first gig in May. We got about 4 or 5 under our belt now, so it's going to keep building and building. And we hope to see everybody out there celebrating metal music and the music of Metallica.
All right, yeah. All right, sounds good. Well, I thank you again, and I hope you have a good rest of your night.
All right, you too, man. Take care.
Yep, you too.
All
See you.
right. See ya.